Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today the topic that I wanted to talk about is about our beloved ChatGPT. And when I say reliable, I mean like to an extent. Because yes, some people rely on it too much and some people don't even rely on it at all. It's really interesting to see how our society has sort of developed in this path of AI, and like you start to see many more AI softwares or like whatever you call it appearing more in today's market. And you can see like obviously ChatGPT, and then there's also Copilot by Microsoft, and then there is Gemini. Gemini is from Google. Copilot is from Microsoft. What else? There's like a lot, and like I know that Gemini is good for generating really realistic AI videos, and like I did fall into the algorithm at some point, especially on TikTok, where I would get videos that are pretty realistic, but you can kind of tell that they are generated Gemini, and more specifically VO3. Those kind of videos are really creative. I also think that they're really cool because I feel like many people don't realize this. Having an AI to create the perfect video that meets your expectation or better, or like to create it in a way that you want it to be, and also like in a really realistic way, to a point where it's like there's a fine line of like knowing if it is AI or if it is real. Honestly, some of the videos, it's really hard to tell unless you like really look into it, or maybe the first time you watch it is like kind of natural, but like the more times you watch it, it's like, oh, that's actually AI. You know what I mean? Back to what I was saying, the prompts that you have to use in order to create the perfect video, you have to be really specific. And I have tried countless of times to ask Gemini to create me just a simple video to test it out. The results were really bad. And that's because I was unfamiliar with the types of prompts that you need to use. And like I tried to be as specific as possible, and apparently it's not specific enough. So I have no idea how these creators, like what prompts they're using and like how long their prompts are, because like I was writing, like my prompt was like a paragraph. I tried a paragraph as my prompt. I don't know, maybe like these creators are like spending a lot of time to create their prompts, like maybe a whole page. You have to like really be dedicated to it. Like you maybe like have to create like a whole storyline. I feel like what if it's similar to writing a book, or like yeah, something like a book where you have to like write it in detail, and also like it has to be extremely specific, and like you have to describe every single thing that's going on in that scene. When I mean specific, I mean like, what is the background like? How does the person's expression look like? What is the person in the back doing? Are there cars flying? Are there cars driving behind you? Or like, are there people walking behind you? What are the people behind you wearing? Or like, how are they walking? And like, what hairstyle are they wearing? You know, like, what clothes are they wearing? Not only do you have to focus on the main characters, but you also have to focus on the scene as a whole, like what is going on in the background, what is going on in the foreground. I think that takes a lot of dedication. You have to be really dedicated to creating that scene. The thing is, right, when you're watching it on TikTok, the videos are quite short, but I think most people don't understand how long it takes to make these kind of videos. As simple as it sounds, like you're just getting AI to create a video for you, it's easy, right? Like you don't have to go out and film it yourself. You can just like type it and AI will just create it for you. But it's harder than it seems. If you are a normal user of Gemini, if you even use Gemini, okay, let's say you have a Gemini Pro subscription, you can generate videos using VO3 for only 5 seconds. And like a 5-second video is really short. It's hard to fit a lot of things into a 5-second video unless you are creating the 5-second videos separately and then putting putting it together scene by scene, which can be a long process as well. Imagine like you are creating your prompts, you write your prompts and then you submit it to Gemini, and then like it creates your 5-second video, but like it's not what you wanted, so you amend it. For a regular pro user, you only have 3 video generations per day. You can imagine like if those 3 are unsatisfactory, then you have to wait the next day and like try again. Imagine how long that would take. And yes, okay, maybe if you are more dedicated to it, maybe you are more willing to spend more money, because like maybe that is your job, and like your job is to create high quality videos, maybe specifically using AI. You can also subscribe to other softwares, like maybe I saw there was another software called Envato, I think. That software is also using VO3, I think. If you go to the VO3 website on its own, the subscription is also really expensive. I think that is more of an efficient way if filmmaking is part of your job or like your hobby or something that you're invested in, you know? Yeah. Anyways, back to the topic of ChatGPT. Before I dive deep into this topic, let's talk more about the background of ChatGPT, okay? So okay, actually I wanted to do some research before making this video. So like I'm searching about like the background of ChatGPT. I just realized that I was asking about ChatGPT on ChatGPT. Anyways, so according to ChatGPT, ChatGPT was launched at the end of 2022 and it blew up early in 2023. It became popular because it felt human-like and conversational, which is pretty true for me, because my first impression was like, oh, it's an AI, but like when you talk to it, it's like you're chatting with a friend, but it's AI. With this chat interface, it's more personal. You know how it gained popularity for students would use it for essays or like maybe schoolwork. It can be used for a lot of things now. Professionals would use it for productivity, and everyday people would use it for like curiosity, everyday stuff, like maybe replacing Google. I have to admit, I am searching on ChatGPT more than I am searching on Google. Talking on ChatGPT, with how the interface is of it being like a chatbot where you are chatting, it feels like you're chatting to another person. I feel like that makes it more personal and also more like casual than searching on Google. Because don't get me wrong, like you can still search on Google, and Google now has its own AI assistant. I think when you search on Google, it has its own AI assistant that will give you the information that you need or like that you're looking for before giving you the websites that might be related or are related to what you're searching for. The personal sense of talking to ChatGPT or like typing to ChatGPT kind of like makes me, or like it makes users want to come back in the chat itself when you're talking. It feels like it's sort of never ending. You can keep talking to it and it will remember what you say. It will learn what you want from it, you know? Like I don't think Google is even that personal. Google is more like a search engine, which it is. It's like transactional. Like you search, it gives you what you want. That's it. But for ChatGPT, something about it just makes it feel more personal. Speaking of how personal ChatGPT can get, another useful feature that came out is the temporary chat feature, where it's like incognito ChatGPT. That took things to the next level. Honestly, do I even need to explain more about this? Anyways, talking about how personal ChatGPT can be, I feel like with how society is moving in today's day and age, with a lot of this technology and a lot of this social media and a lot of this online presence going on, I'm pretty sure that many of us have heard that mental health has become more of a concern, especially to us younger generations. I'm talking about Gen Z, and maybe it would also include late millennials, and I feel like it's already including Gen Alpha, and I'm not even sure like what are the younger generations called, but like Gen Alpha is the latest generation that I can remember it being called. So when did people start using ChatGPT as their therapist? It came around the same time when mental health was the talk of mental health conversations online started to become more of a thing. And then you would hear about BetterHelp or yeah, I think that's about it. Like you hear about BetterHelp or maybe like these other creators talking about going to therapy and like stuff like that. And I feel like, okay, yeah, therapy can be beneficial for everyone, but not everyone can afford it. The price for therapy is pretty expensive. Even on BetterHelp, like when I remember I tried to like sign up for therapy just to like check how much it was. Even with the discounted price, it was still a lot to pay for per month. So not everyone can afford therapy. And another thing is that not only that, it can also be hard to find the right therapist for you. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of these challenges involved in finding therapy and like finding the right therapist. And like obviously you don't want to waste your money and your time on like therapy only to get matched with a therapist that doesn't even help you at all. With ChatGPT entering the zeitgeist, I feel like it is kind of unavoidable for people to start using ChatGPT as their therapist. Not only is it convenient, it is also free and it is like personalized to you. Like this AI can remember what you like, your preferences, how you want it to talk to you, even what you want it to call you, and even what roles you want it to have. Like, I feel like it's just taking over our society today, and like it's hard to find someone that doesn't use ChatGPT nowadays. It's like more so becoming the next Google. Let's talk about the pros of using ChatGPT as a therapist. It is available 24/7. Obviously it's free. It kind of like helps you reflect and like organize your own thoughts. Sometimes it's not only about the answers that it gives you, but it's also like kind of like a journal you can kind of like rant to, and then like it keeps your thoughts in one place, and like you can kind of like go through your chat's history and like look back on like what you were going through, and like kind of like as a reference for you in the future. Sometimes you would like go through your chat history and like see how you overcame that situation that last time, or like maybe that time that the situation bothered you, but like now you have learned how to overcome it. And then like seeing that kind of like inspires you or like motivates you that you are improving, or like you are in that sort of sense, you know? And oh, I kind of missed out on the most important thing about ChatGPT is that like it is completely non-judgmental. It doesn't judge you. You can say whatever you want to ChatGPT. We listen, but we don't judge. That's just how it is around here, you know? When it is like that around here, we can start getting comfortable fast. I don't know whether it could be a good thing or would it be a bad thing. I would say obviously too much of everything is not good for you, and that's just how it is for most things. Let's talk about the cons of using ChatGPT as your therapist. I think as an AI, ChatGPT obviously is not 100% trained to be a therapist or like give professional advice. Maybe it can lack empathy or nuance. That can be changed though. You can personalize your ChatGPT in a way that you can tell it what you want it to call you and like how you want it to respond to you. If you do customize it in a way that is personalized to you, sometimes it gives you better answers compared to someone that you know in real life, you know? And like I said, it's convenient. Another con is that maybe like the risk of being too reliant on ChatGPT to a point where you can't make decisions without it. That is kind of like the main thing that I see can be a really big issue for most people. The more invested they get into using ChatGPT, how they implement it to their daily lives. So the big question is using ChatGPT as your therapist bad for you? For me personally, I would say that no, it is not bad for me because I know how to control my limits. I think that I am free to use ChatGPT as my therapist as much as I want to, because who are you to say, who are you to tell me what to do and what not to do? And oh my god, funny thing is, I have watched videos of like therapists talking about how ChatGPT shouldn't be used to replace therapy and like how it's bad to use ChatGPT as your therapist. Most of the time, these therapists that are saying that, they're like trying to sell their service instead, like trying to not lose their jobs. Obviously, ChatGPT cannot replace therapy, like real life therapy, because I think that one strength that all humans have over AI or robots is emotional intelligence. One thing that therapists do better than ChatGPT is having empathy and being able to actually relate to how you feel and like your situation. Maybe they have gone through the same experience, so like there's more connection there. Whereas if you are talking to AI, 100% you know that they will not be able to empathize with you and they will not be able to like relate because they're just AI. But I think that understanding that is also really important because I have talked to a few friends about this. There was a time for me where I have been using ChatGPT as my therapist. I came across a few videos of like how people are saying ChatGPT, people should not use ChatGPT as their therapist and stuff like that. But like as a chronic overthinker, I started overthinking. I started texting a few of my friends to get their opinions, and I think that we all can agree that ChatGPT, like who cares if you use ChatGPT as your therapist? I mean, obviously, ChatGPT is good at telling you or giving you reassurance and like telling you what you want to hear. And I think that is the benefit of using ChatGPT to talk about whatever is on your mind or like whatever is bothering you. I think that is the benefit that it can provide for you, is giving you reassurance. Obviously, you already know what's best for you and you already know what to do. If you don't know what to do, you can ask it to brainstorm for you, and then that could maybe give you more ideas. But like obviously if it's telling you to rob a bank, you're not gonna go rob a bank. So I think as long as you have common sense, there is no problem for using ChatGPT at all as your therapist. I think it is a good thing that I grew up not having access to ChatGPT because that taught me how to develop my own way of thinking and how to problem solve on my own without relying on an external source, or shall I say, artificial intelligence. Although I think that ChatGPT is not bad for you as a therapist, I do think that it should not be accessible to kids, maybe like primary school or like maybe even middle school. I feel like it would affect individual thinking because of how kids' brains are still developing at such a young age. I think that it is essential to let these kids learn how to think for themselves and how to brainstorm, come up with ideas, problem solve before allowing a third party to help them or like essentially give them the answers. Because when I was young, I had teachers who would force me to think before helping me. And I think that is a more helpful way. If I figure out the solution myself, then great. If I don't, then only the teachers would step in. If let's say you were given a problem and you just copy and paste that problem into ChatGPT, generate the answer, copy and paste the answer, and then post it, that is more of an unhealthy way of using ChatGPT long term. You know what I mean? That is just my thoughts on whether or not ChatGPT is bad for you or not. I would conclude in this video that it is not bad for you. In fact, it is more of a tool that can benefit you depending on how you use it. You really need to learn how to implement it into your life without it consuming you or like taking over or like sort of controlling you in a sense. But yeah, I would say most of us nowadays use ChatGPT and it's pretty normal. So Anyways, I'm not here to stop you. I'm not here to say whether or not you should stop using ChatGPT or whether or not you should continue using ChatGPT. These are just my thoughts, and thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I will see you in the next video, and yep, bye.